All right. Well, hope you're having a good week so far, and I hope it continues. This is our 522 forum for this week. We spoke last week about two or three action steps, two of which we just asked you to do in your meeting time. One of those was to go over your ministry care list, especially prospects, maybe send out some cards to prospects or to folks you've been missing for a little while. And so I'd like to hear if you guys did that. And secondly, that we had talked about setting a goal for our high attendance Sunday, that each group would set a goal. Our group set a goal of 14, I believe, is what we ended up saying. And Legacy Builders was sitting in with me, and I believe they set a goal of 10, if I remember right. And so, ladies, be interested in seeing what goal, if any, you set. Faith Walkers, what goal, if any, that you guys set. We're going to be asking our children and youth groups to do that as well. Pardon me. If we did not do those two things, well, let me come back to that. Number three was we were hoping to take one step forward on the ministry, or excuse me, on our group structure, whatever that next step might be for you. And so I'd like to get feedback on whether or not you did. I'll confess to you, I did not. It just left me on Sunday morning. I planned to talk to Adam and Samantha on becoming ministry project coordinators for us. Ministry projects and fellowships, at least at this point. So it's my intention to text them about that today and try to rectify my mistake on that. Now, those three action steps, I'm curious as to whether or not we did those at all. And if we didn't, the question I want to ask is, what do we need to do to execute better? What needs to change to make us execute things better, to get things done that we've discussed? And I'd really be open to your feedback on that. And maybe we got it all done. If we did, great. But I know Cameron is out right now. He's going to be out for the foreseeable future. Shane was out this Sunday. And my wife will be back in the next couple of weeks, but she wasn't here as well. And so some of our normal crew wasn't here. So I realize we're already kind of working in a less than expected situation, but we still need to be able to execute the things that need to be done to move us forward. And so we're going to keep working on those things. And so this week, really my challenge is to make sure that what we began committing ourselves to last week that we'll actually do. I appreciate Jeff contributing on the forum this past week and didn't really hear from anybody else. I'd really like for you to get in there and share at least a little something. So a couple of things I'll point out for this coming week is I'd like to make sure you're looking at your ministry care list in your meeting this week. Send some postcards out. Secondly, that you also would make sure you've set a goal for the high attendance Sunday if you haven't already. And then thirdly, that you take that next step with your group structure. Whatever that next step is, for several of you, you know what that is. We just need to execute it. At least for all the groups, I think we know at least one step we need to take, and we're just not taking it. We need to take it. And so I want to encourage us and challenge us not let another week go by without making some kind of progress of some sort. So I want to share this scripture with you. Very important. An excellent thing for us to hear. This is about Jesus in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, starting in verse 38. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving. And she went up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. And so I contend to be personally one of the world's worst when it comes to wanting to be about being busy, but often that busyness doesn't accomplish a whole lot. And it's easy for us to do that, to get wrapped up in the million things we need to do. And I don't mean just with church, I just mean with life, period, including the things of God, including the things of the church. And so when I want to encourage you, and you might be a little surprised to hear me say this, but while I think it's important that we prepare for our studies each Sunday, that maybe some of the most important preparation you could do would be to sit at the feet of Jesus and to spend some time in quiet meditation, to spend some time in prayer, spend some time listening to Him, and less on doing, doing, doing. In a sense, that is absolutely the kind of preparation we need to lead a small group and to provide good leadership there. And to be sure, there are some things that we need to do. There's no doubt about it. And Jesus knew that too. Jesus worked hard. Jesus taught sometimes for hours and hours, and He would get worn out. You know the story where the sea gets tumultuous and He gets up and He calms the sea. But what was He doing before that? Well, He was asleep in the boat. He was tired. And He was obviously tired enough that this big storm didn't wake Him up. He was that asleep. And so Jesus knows that there's work that we need to do, and I believe that He wants us to do those things, but He doesn't want us to get lost in those things. And so I encourage you that there's one thing that's necessary, and that's to walk with Him and to know Him, and not to minister on an empty tank. But when we have a full tank, that we're much more effective ministers. And so that we do that, number one, for God's glory. We do that for the good of others and for ourselves. And so make sure you don't forget the main thing, the first thing, which is friendship with Him. We've got to make sure that that's there. We'll really know the rest of it matters. So that's my biblical encouragement to you today. And at the same time, we need to have a little Martha in us. And so we need to execute the few things we're talking about. The two of the things that we're talking about, you're going to be doing in your small group time. And so you're going to be here anyway. It's just the presence of mind to talk about them. I put the reminder in the 522 news. And so we're really making that as straightforward as we can for us to make sure we're working on those things. Then the third thing is to make this step forward in your group structure, whatever that needs to be. I love you. I appreciate you. Be blessed.